Hello there and welcome to our look ahead to what the papers will be bringing us tomorrow. With me are Ruth Lee, economic advisor at Arbuthnot Banking Group, and John Rentoul, political columnist at The Independent. Good to see you both. Let's have a look at some of the front pages. We're going to start with the Metro. It leads with the apparent assassination of the North Korean leader's half-brother at Malaysia's Kuala Lumpur airport. The Times says the internet giant Amazon will have its business rates cut at most of its warehouses, while high street shops will have to pay more. The Daily Telegraph reports on how those business rate increases might even hit the NHS, saying health trusts could threaten legal action in response. The NHS features on the front of the eye too, with an investigation into the future of emergency care. It claims dozens of A&E units could be closed. House prices are soaring, that's according to the Daily Express. The paper says investing in property is the best way to save. While the UKIP leader Paul Nuttall has questions to answer, according to The Guardian, after admitting he didn't lose close personal friends in the Hillsborough disaster, contrary to what his website suggests. And the Daily Mail is angry with ministers who they say are betraying their campaign to crack down on plastic bottle waste. Hopefully we'll get to that story a little bit later on, but we're going to start, Ruth, with the Eye. Revealed 24 A&E units face closure. This part of a week of special investigations by the Eye newspaper. And it's claiming that dozens of casualty departments marked for closure or downgrading despite record demand and overcrowding.
Well, I read this and I liked the way that it said that bosses were doing this in order to concentrate specialist services, in particular A&Es, and this might help to save lives. And I think that's the most wonderful example of rationalisation that I've ever heard. Because basically we all know that they're under terrific pressure and they probably need more funding. But then that really brings on that whole question of how do you get extra funding into the National Health Service, which already is 120 billion. I think it really is time, if we want to get more money into the NHS, to think about other forms of finance, whether it's a social insurance system or whether it's people spending more on their own health. I think it's now time to actually start thinking, how do we get more money into the
John,
NHS.
raising taxes.
Well, that's going to come up in the budget next month, I suspect, because there's this terrifying figure that actual spending per head in the NHS is going to fall next year, and I can't believe the government is going to allow that to happen. So I suspect Philip Hammond, the Chancellor, will announce some more emergency money for the NHS next year in the budget. But I think Ruth's right. I mean, that's only going to be. You can wheel out all the metaphors. That's only going to be a sticking plaster. It's not going to be a permanent solution.
And indeed, I mean, the demands on the NHS, of course, just get greater and greater and greater, not least of all because, of course, actual treatments get more expensive. There's more that you can do. You think back 50 years ago, you didn't have the treatments you have today. And, of course, we have an ageing population. And so there's the other problem of what do you do about elderly care, social care. And there, I really would bring in an insurance system. I really do think we have to think about this quite hard.
Something's got to be done. Well, the Telegraph, John, has the NHS is going to be hit by business rate rises, crippling rates rise, apparently. Only adding fuel to the fire that the NHS is in crisis.
Yes, I mean, this is a technical story about the way that business rates fall on public bodies just as they fall on private sector bodies. And buried in there is the story that Amazon actually is going to see its business rates fall next year, which is odd. I don't pretend to understand it, but it's obvious that the NHS is under extreme pressure, and this is an additional pressure on it.
So you know about business. How can that be? NHS having a lot of financial problems is being hit by crippling business rates. Amazon, which has more money than any other company in the world, bar I don't know, Apple or something.
It does seem anomalous.
Is getting its business rates cut.
Well, it does seem anomalous, and I think really the Treasury does need to have a look at this. And the other thing, of course, that small businesses, particularly in the southeast of England, have got whacking great rate rises as well. It's something to do with the valuation of the property. And the trouble is, the rates are meant to be upgraded or changed every 5 years, but they haven't been for 10 years. So the whole valuation's got horribly out of
So that's why charity shops were complaining that they could be hit as well.
Yes, I think so.
On the high street.
It just amused me. You said here that this is a Telegraph story. It says there is growing concern in Whitehall about the impact of rate rises. Continued on page 2. And I haven't got
We haven't got page 2. That's because this is the papers looking at the front pages.
So perhaps the Treasury is looking at this because it does seem...
It seems bonkers, doesn't it?
But I've not got...
It does seem absolutely bonkers. All right. Although, I have to say, we do have page 4 of the Express.
We do.
So some papers get preferential treatment here because we get their inside pages, but others don't send us their inside pages. Page 4 of the Express, John. Putin, lie, forces out top advisor after just 24 days. Michael Flynn, National Security Advisor to Mr. Trump, President of the United States, has had to resign because he apparently had a meeting with a Russian envoy and talked about something he shouldn't have done.
Well, yes, it's a confusing story. I mean, I think what he did wrong was then he wasn't completely straight with the vice president about what he had said to.
So he lied about
Russians.
what he said.
Yeah, so it's always the cover-up that gets you. I think it's surprising because for the first time, I mean, President Trump has only been in office for what is it, a few weeks.
3 weeks.
But already. He's suddenly behaving like a normal politician, which is, instead of doing what he normally does, which is double down and say, nothing wrong, nothing to see here, and start attacking other people. He's actually done what a normal politician does, which is sack somebody for getting into trouble.
But Ruth, he did double down. He doubled down for 3 weeks. He knew about this conversation.
Well, that is
3
the next
weeks
question.
that they knew about this, and they desperately tried to save him. Well, one faction in the White House tried to save him, which is what they were doing for the last 3 weeks.
Well, it just gets muddier and muddier as far as I can see. But it certainly, the story we now have, as John has said, is that he actually misled Mike Pence, the Vice President, who went on the television and denied that this Michael Flynn had actually discussed the sanctions with the Russian ambassador on the phone.
On the phone.
Did nobody listen to the conversation?
But that's the amazing thing. He's the National Security Advisor, and he's talking to the Russians. It is gonna be taped.
You would have thought.
Excuse me, for the person who's typing me at the moment, this is Michael Flynn. Flynn.
Absolutely bizarre and slightly worrying that the National Security Advisor wouldn't know that, or it wouldn't cross his mind that might actually be happening. But of course, the suggestion is that the Trump administration has ties. They're a little bit too close to Russia. And the whole Trump situation and his White House, of course, has been in the news here because he's going to be coming to the UK pretty soon, Ruth. And the May also has the story of Theresa May saying that she's assured Mr. Trump that she's looking forward to the state visit, despite this petition having well over 1 million signatures on it.
I signed the other.
And you signed the one saying that he should be coming?
Yes, I did.
Okay, and that's not...
300,000 people signed the...
You're one of the 300,000.
Yeah.
Why should he come?
I have concerns about Mr. Trump, like anybody does, but he is the President of the United States of America and a very, very important ally to us. And after Theresa May's visit to the White House, I do think that to build up links with the US, especially as Brexit's coming, you've got to think of... And
you are a
I'm a Brexiter
supporter, you're a Brexiteer.
I'm allowed in the BBC. What more can one say?
Well, I tried to stop you, actually, Ruth. I said no. This must not happen.
I saw the Alsatian at the door. But joking apart, he strategically, the US is strategically so important now that to stop the state visit or to give him a sort of half-kilter state visit, I think would be deeply unwise. I think that's
but also a contest of petitions is not the way to decide these things.
No, I agree with that.
Certainly 1.8 million people feel very strongly about Donald Trump and not having him here. But actually, we had an opinion poll in the Independent at the weekend, and more people, when you look at the population as a whole, actually think that Donald Trump should come and should meet the Queen, than think the opposite. So 1.8 million people versus 300,000. It's not the way you decide these things.
It's quality, not quantity.
All right. Okay. Quality, not quantity. Talking about quality and quantity. Financial Times. Nuclear policy hit by Toshiba, John.
Well, Toshiba, I thought they made video recorders, but apparently they also put a lot of money into nuclear power plants. And this Cumbria plant is a very important possible new nuclear power station if we're going to have nuclear power in this country, as most people, I think, want to. But it's also complicated because it's become an issue in a by-election, which the Conservatives think they can win because Theresa May is going up there to campaign, which is unusual for a Prime Minister to get involved.
It's interesting.
Soon, I think.
Must be quite soon, yeah.
So she obviously thinks they can win it, and if they can exploit people's fears up there about Labour's hesitations about nuclear power, then...
Which is a big employer up there.
Absolutely.
And that's
but
the key.
this is going to throw a spanner in the works if Sheba are going to pull out anyway.
Yeah, this could be problematic,
But
couldn't
Ruth
it?
knows more about that than I do.
Well, I'm not sure really, but the FT actually had a very interesting leader today on exactly this issue. And they said, look, if we want nuclear power, it's so expensive that actually the government has to start putting some money into it. It's a classic case of market failure, where you really can't rely on the market to get the funding in. And I think these problems with Toshiba really just show that completely, that the government really does have to intervene.
Sure.
They'll have to put their money where their mouth is, I think, with this one.
All right,
But if the private sector won't pay for it, doesn't that mean it's not actually economically viable?
Well, the trouble is our whole energy policy is terribly skewed. And there are all sorts of subsidies, especially not least of all in the renewables. And the thing about nuclear power is that it is actually solid and reliable power, and I suspect that it is the sort of power that we should go for.
But it's expensive to bring online. That's the problem.
And we're still trying to decarbonise. This is another issue. So it's a decarbonisation issue
of course,
as well.
yeah. Daily Mail. We'll skip over Daily Mail. Let's go to the Metro story. The assassinated at the airport. We've only got 3 or 4 minutes left. Ruth, assassinated at the airport. Tyrant Kim's Playboy brother murdered. Hit woman poisons North Korean exile. Great front page. Is it true?
Well, presumably so. If this is what
presumably so. Don't believe
I was going to say, if this is what a North Korean playboy looks like, I think it's time we all moved on. If you get my drift.
I mean,
but it does seem as though he's been helped into another world by, according to Metro, but some other papers are sort of disputing this. Is some woman with a sort of a cloth who sort of came up behind him and put this cloth on his face and burnt his eyes. But that was disputed in the other papers, wasn't it?
That's right. I mean, other papers talk about needles being jabbed in him. I mean, obviously something happened to him because he's
it's
dead.
A hit job.
I mean, it's an absolutely extraordinary story. I mean, it's a spy thriller material. But we're not totally clear about what exactly
happened. Yeah, this happened in Malaysia by all accounts.
In Kuala Lumpur.
Killing stokes tension over missile test, John, according to the paper. Of course, Kim Jong-un fired off a missile, the first launch during President Trump's time in the White House, last weekend, I think it was.
Yes, that's right. I mean, North Korea is a pretty worrying place as far as the world's concerned. And I mean, Donald Trump has not responded in any sort of irresponsible way, which some people might have feared he would have done. So, but this kind of shenanigans is, I mean, maybe it's not related at all. I mean, it's just a faction fight within the ruling family. Yeah. Who knows?
Who knows? All right. Okay. How much time have we got? Oh, we've got a minute left, so we can go on to story of the day. Prue Leith, the new Mary Berry. Ruth, they had to find someone of the same stature, brilliance, someone who didn't put too much salt in things. I'm hoping Prue Leith is that kind of person.
She's a cook, isn't she? Does she bake?
I mean, you know what?
You see, I don't really watch the Great Bake Off, whatever it's called. Great British Bake Off.
The Great British.
What's it called?
It's a cookery program.
It's called the Great British Bake Off. It's a cookery program, and
it's quite popular.
But it's about baking.
It's just yes, it's baking. It's just baking.
Is she a baker?
Prue Leith. Does Prue Leith do more? She's a restaurateur, actually, so I think she does more than just bake.
I'm questioning this.
Yeah, but Mary Berry does more than baking as well.
Well, she does. She does cakes. Yeah. Mind you, that's baking, isn't it?
So
sorry.
Does Prue Leith...
John Rentoul there, yes. Baked cakes is baking.
Prue Leith did something with British rail sandwiches some time ago.
All right, I'm being told I've got to shut up, which means you two have to. Zip it. Ruth, John, it's been great having you and looking at some of the stories behind the headlines. Many thanks for that. Don't forget, you can see the front pages of the papers online on the BBC News website. It's all there for you, 7 days a week at bbc.co.uk/papers. And if you missed the programme any evening, you can watch it later on BBC iPlayer with your favourite glass of wine. Just relax and watch. We've been relaxed here, Ruth and John and I. And you, I hope you have been too. Goodbye.